Okay, so where do I begin? Fine, the almond blossoms. Vincent paints one of his favorite subjects. Shades of white for the leaves spread across the foreground offer a degree of uniformity. It makes the landscape pleasant for the observant eye while different shades of blue define the sky in the background. The branches diverge in a series of complex pathways, providing depth to this frame, and if I stare at this vista for a few seconds more, I can hear the leaves dancing with the wind. Does it seem like it's the first morning of spring? Maybe because it is. Then there is Starry night over the river Rhone. Oh man, such a peaceful yet mysterious representation of the place. Specifically, the reflections in the water, they become the focal point, drowning the boats, rendering them barely visible. It is this style of painting with broken brush strokes. It creates this hypnotizing effect, like the entire scene is moving, like the lights are shimmering on the water surface. It arrests attention and refuses to let go. And Vincent could communicate that state of sublime movement on a usual basis. It is depicted in trees and undergrowth, wheat field with crows, wheat field with cypresses, and many more. He could also capture stillness. Like in the Sunflower series, there are many versions of this still life, each of them boasting a rich, vibrant color palette that Vincent developed over time. Eventually, flowers would become his experimental subjects, and you could see in detail while following the chronology of his works how a curious individual practices through repetition until he is satisfied with the mastery of his craft. The experiment in question was about the usage of distinctive and vibrant colors. Vincent's early discography shows muted colors, so much so that it might be hard to believe they are from the man himself. Some of these early works are what I would describe as being trapped in an eternal sunset. They are so ominous, the presence of vibrant shades seem to be fading with the passage of time, merging with the dark and the dull. There is already undeniable talent present here, but it was still nowhere close to Vincent's ultimate potential. What we are seeing in these initial works is a man trying to paint exactly what he witnesses because the powers of his imagination were yet to be unlocked. It was through his travels and meetings with other painters, particularly the likes of Paul Gauguin, that he started to compose more from memory and experiment with color combinations. All of that, in my opinion, culminates into Vincent's ultimate magnum opus, the world-renowned The Starry Night. It contains the colorful vibrance that he acquired in his later years, plus an expressive imagination demonstrated by the way he illustrates the clouds and includes a fictional village at the backdrop of a cypress tree. At the same time, it showcases keen observation. The brightest star in the scene, right next to the tree, was mentioned in one of Vincent's letters to his brother Theo, and it goes as follows. This morning I saw the countryside from my window, a long time before sunrise, with nothing but the morning star, which looked very big. It was later identified by researchers that the star in question was Venus, and it was present at the time. This painting conveys all the lessons the painter learned over the years. His curiosity for finding the right colors and his love for the night sky. And while the world is awe-inspired by this work of art, the man who created it deemed it as a failure. In his own opinion, he strayed too far from reality. a concept so ahead of its time that he himself didn't fully understand. For he was a lover of simplicity and saw beauty in everything. My favorite work of Vincent is Just a Pair of Shoes. Really. He made several still life paintings with shoes as the centerpiece subject, but this one with a brighter color palette is much more appealing to me. There isn't much to describe about this scene. A pair of brown shoes standing in visual contrast to the pale floor. Strokes of blue depict the shadows formed, adding depth to the scene. To the bottom right is a singular tile of prominent red, and the laces are covered in a mixture of yellowish brown. Now the question arises, why would someone paint this? A pair of shoes, really? Such an uninteresting subject to paint. Some researchers think that this is a symbolic representation of the hard life of the laborers, but I see it simply as appreciation. Vincent appreciated everyday objects. He saw everything as a chance to pick up the brush. And through the only medium where he could express himself, he converted these everyday objects into engrossing works of art. Truly, the best measure of a painter is how they add meaning, substance, and style to even the most mundane subjects. And in regards to that, Vincent was an absolute master. Appreciation can be a funny word in this context. While the painter appreciated the beauty of the world and the inherent inspiration found within, the people of the world appreciated the painter only after his death. Now he's one of the most researched and talked about artists to have ever lived. His paintings have sold for millions of dollars. Take irises or the sunflowers. At the same time, the reality exists that while alive, he only sold one painting, The Red Vineyard, for something that amounts to $2,000 in today's time. While he may have sold more paintings, but we are only sure about this one. Vincent lived a troubled life. He suffered from rejection and was unable to support himself financially. His family, with the exception of his brother Theo, did not acknowledge his artistic curiosity and were not very supportive of his creative pursuits. He searched for love but couldn't find any. All of this eventually added up, and more troubled episodes followed. He cut off his own ear after an argument with Gauguin and took to extensive drinking that he admitted himself to a mental hospital. His final painting, Tree Roots, strayed so far from any of his other works, wandering off into the realms of abstraction, that he wasn't himself anymore. The canvas could not save him. The love and appreciation that he desperately needed while alive was given to him only after his untimely death. However, we can learn something from this. How many people do we know in our lives, friends or family members, who are starting a new business venture or trying to express themselves creatively? I'm sure we all know someone like that. But how many times do we actually encourage them? Sometimes we acknowledge their talents, but we say nothing. Sometimes we unnecessarily criticize them, not knowing how they feel. Everyone loves to be a critic today, but few intend to inspire and motivate others. Seriously, give people their flowers while they are here. And remember, true greatness lies in helping others find their own. And while Vincent never got to witness his success, the stories contained in his works continue to teach us about curiosity and the ever-pressing need for understanding and appreciating those around us. While his life was dull and gloomy like his initial works, he later found the colors to highlight the brightest, the most expressive and inspiring side of him. And that, my friends, That's all that truly matters.